republic for which
Recording
it
in
stands,
progress.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Present.
Councilmember Crossman.
Here.
Councilmember Kane-Geiser. Here. Councilmember Hess.
Here.
Councilmember Palmer.
Here.
Councilmember Kaminsky. Here. Mayor Pinto.
Here. Can we pause just for a second, make sure that we're
It's okay. There's a large delay, but it's recording correctly.
all righty? Well, with that, let's move on to the agenda approval. Councilmember Hess?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Second by Councilmember Palmer. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to special presentations, there's none scheduled. Moving on to public comment. If there's anyone from the audience that wishes to speak, or we have one. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? There's a little blue card you can fill out. If you don't, no worries. We can just get your information afterwards. If not, Kayla, please state your name for the record and tell us what you got.
Hey guys, my name is Kayla Russell and I'm just here because I was looking over the agenda this morning and seeing that there's an amendment to the public service agreement with SJG Alliance for the Coblet parking lot and activated alleyway project. My concern, sorry, I have a list here just to make sure I don't miss anything. With the Coplets is that if we are putting them in all the time permanently, that's the word I'm looking for, that we do cut off the services that the businesses are using. I know Whitehorse has up to 8 deliveries a week, if not more. If something breaks, we have to have more trucks in and out. Firehouse is probably the same way. I did not get a chance to reach out to them this morning and get their opinion, but I like the idea of making it pretty back there, but I hate the idea of hurting a business. So maybe when we're looking at these plans, we find a way, maybe we put the couplets in during activities. So farmer's market is happening and we don't want people driving back there. City can come place them, they're good. But the rest of the week, businesses can still have deliveries and the garbage services, and the older elderly people who use the Whitehorse during the day, a lot of them get dropped off in the back and walk in. There's no, if we can't have access to that alley, that cuts their availability to do that. I know I don't want my elderly family members parking on Main Street to drop off their friend and then trying to get out of there. It sounds terrible for all of that. Maybe just keep that in mind as we go over these new plans and design concepts. We don't want to hurt our businesses. We hear all the time that we're not business friendly. I don't know that that's true. I'm not a business owner myself, but I think it would show businesses that we do want to work with them if we're able to keep those avenues open for their deliveries and their customers. That's it. Thanks, guys.
And we will be talking about this a little bit here in just a bit. Council wants to discuss at that point under new business. And Cody, if you want to address, I think you're going to be speaking on it.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I'll make it.
Well, those. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Kayla. Is there anyone online that wishes to speak?
You do not have any hands raised.
All right, well, let's move on to the consent agenda, which is the May 14th, 2024 and the May 28th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Councilmember Kaminsky.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Palmer. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on under new business, we have amendment number 5 of the Public Services Agreement with the SCJ Alliance for the one-way couplets parking lot and the activated alleyway project. Cody.
Yeah, so before you is amendment number 5. This is specifically regarding the activated alleyway, and this is the undergrounding of utilities. So while we have the alleyway dug up, we want to fix the water main that we're going to have to replace anyways in a couple of years, along with the sewer main, and then working with PSC to underground all the power lines. So moving the power poles so it's more inviting to be back there. We hadn't originally thought we were going to need to do the water main, but it's in our 20-year plan and it's in the next 5 years. So it makes sense to do it now instead of digging up the activated alleyway. We're going to put a bunch of papers on in 5 years to do that. So we're just accelerating it. This will be paid for with water and sewer mostly. Money on there. There'll be a little bit of offset money for the power, undergrounding the power utilities. But just as we realized and walked through, it's like, let's just do the pipes at the exact same time instead of waiting for a later time to do that. So that's what the amendment in front of you is for specifically the activated alleyway portion of this.
Cody, could you talk a little about the impacts to businesses and what we're doing to mitigate some of that?
Yeah, so we have 30% plans for this alleyway, which is just a general concept of what it'll look like. We so far met with Habitat for Humanity, Salon Nouveau, Fair Game, and we've reached out to the owner of the Club building, which just recently changed. Those are the business owners that we will have to actually take right away from, not take, but sorry, compensate them for the right of way that they're willing to give. All the business owners are very excited about the project we've talked to. And there will be, in dealing with Ms. Russell's question, there will be removable bollards. So if there's trash services, they can be removed. The business owners will have access to that to be able to remove those to get trash services or deliveries through. So it's not a permanent closure in terms of cars driving on it, but majority of the time it will be closed for walking for, like I said, farmers market, other events we're going to have in there, along with a sign holder. We have yet to meet with Whitehorse because we're first making sure all the business owners are willing to give up right of way because we have to purchase from them. If not, then that changes how we do this project. And how we have to modify the design a little bit, or we'll have to go through a different avenue. So far, every business owner has been very open to working with us to get this alleyway. They all think it's a really good idea.
Councilmember Richardson.
I'm glad you explained the need for having to do it, because the amendment, when I first saw the amendment, I thought, oh boy, another amendment. But then I had talked with Todd earlier and it's, what is this about? And to understand, so we were going to have to do this anyway in 5 years?
Yeah, the water main need to be replaced in 5 years, specifically from here to where it ends on Tim's Pharmacy, right in front of their parking lot.
And the
It's a
sewer.
AC asbestos main, so we're gonna have to replace it, and it's on our docket in our next 5 years to replace.
So since while it's being worked on now or being accessible, might as well just go at it right now.
Yeah, we're already digging it up. Same with the sewer. There's a sewer line that runs through there that's not as old, but there are some connections that need to be fixed in terms of service connection, because those are really old connections that were built when the sewer was first put in. So we want to correct those connections too at the same time. So it just makes sense to do them while it's dug up versus putting pavers in, really beautiful. And then, hey, 5 years from now, we're digging all that paver.
Yeah, that makes good sense. I was just looking at the hourly wages of SCJ Alliance and I thought, man, I'm working for the wrong people. They make good money.
It's a costly game to do this. It's very interesting.
Councilmember Palmer.
So my thought on this is that I love that we're doing the activated alleyway and the infrastructure improvements. And I think we need to do the other side of town as well, behind Bob's and the other buildings. But the one problem I have is shutting it down all the time. I think we should shut it down for events and not have to have them remove stuff for trash service and stuff like that. But when we do have events going on, I love having it activated for those where we shut it down. We're like, hey, we got a farmer's market. We got a whatever it is, a craft fair, like whoever wants to rent out the space. I think it's great shutting it down for those specific events, but I don't want it shut down all the time because I feel like our day-to-day business is more prevalent than the individual events that are going to be happening.
And we can absolutely discuss operations of it too, as we move forward on this. But it's well received. Councilor Wood.
I would just want to, along the same lines, agree with Councilmember Palmer and Ms. Russell. It seems like we can do something here that everybody succeeds. I think that the idea of having the option to shut it down when necessary, not even just a matter of like renting out the community center, but if there's a need, if something, if we're having an event just for whatever reason and need to shut that down, I think that'd be okay with everyone. But I agree as far as deliveries and things like that, that creates a whole new problem. And I'm sure you've all seen what happens when, say, the La Gitana gets their delivery. We have a truck right in the middle of the highway. And I think that's creating a larger potential for that to happen even closer to the center of our town. So, but I don't think anybody would be disappointed if we have the ability to do it, but rather than close it and open it when we need it, let's leave it open and close it when we need to do that.
Yeah, and I do want to say there's a place like Leavenworth that they do street closures kind of permanently. And one thing they do to help mitigate that impact to businesses is they lower it. They seem similar to us, what we're thinking, but I don't know if it's actually exactly like it. They lower the barriers in the mornings and at like nighttime or at the early morning, so they can have those deliveries at certain times and then raise it up. And if you don't get it in there, you have to go around basically. We can look at that and other possibilities that we could do for making sure that businesses are impacted as lightly as they can. Councilmember Crossman, and then Hess.
Back to the topic at hand. We're dealing with utilities right now. So they will coordinate with PSC about rerouting all electrical and gas because you just can't bury electrical lines, and that's all good. And so they're going to work with them and figure all that out at the same time of rerouting out water lines. Correct.
Yeah, so we had a meeting with PSC about a month and a half ago in conjunction with this project about these lines. And so this kind of came out of that, is that coordination with PSC will be done by SCJ, and they'll coordinate with their engineers and because PSC will do its own work. They don't like other people doing their work. So they'll coordinate with them to engineer the plans together and make sure that they're the ones doing the construction when we drop those lines underground. Yeah, because it is a very heavy duty lift, especially those are a lot of old power lines. And if you've been in that alleyway, if not after this, take a chance to walk through there. They run, it doesn't even look very secure running all the lines to these old buildings that have been here for, 80, 90 years. So.
Councilmember Hess.
In reference to the concern that's been brought up about the businesses and all, just wondering if SCJ Alliance or if we have done the study of, sitting there watching how many vehicles are coming through, how disruptive it's going to be. My concern is that if we're paying them for the putting this project together, that should be one of the steps that should have been done. I'm just wondering if anybody did that prior to even getting as far as we've gotten at this point.
So the main thing we're doing is talking to the businesses directly. Like, will this affect you? What can we do to help? What can we do to offset? Do you need this to be accessible all times? Do you need this to be closed partial times? So our main concern was with the businesses and reaching out to them directly and getting their feedback versus having a study going, oh, only 3 cars came through over a week. We're going to shut it down, right? And every business has been very responsive. Even Habitat, who says they use that for deliveries, when they have their truck deliveries, like, hey, here's what we can do to make it so we don't have to use that alleyway anymore. We can do this. So we've had really good reception with everybody that we've talked to about it. Even the Salon Nouveau, who has all their employees park in the back. They're super excited about the parking lot that we're going to be building. They can park, and then there'll be a traditional pathway just to get to their business. So they're like, hey, that is great that you're doing that. And it's going to all be done in time. So everyone we've talked to has been a great working, and that's where we're going to work with everyone regardless. And if it is something where we come up with a solution where the bollards are down part of the time, so that way there's always deliveries available every day from 9 to noon, they can do that. So that way we can always have businesses aren't impacted, and it's just a boon for everyone in the area.
And I understand that, but sometimes, as been pointed out, the business owner may not realize how much of an impact it might be. But having having that study done as well of, okay, they say everything's good, but we have 5 vehicles that come through during these times that are affecting it and all. That's the only question I have is, could we possibly look at doing that as well to make sure that the business owner understands exactly, they may be excited by it, but they don't realize the full impact. There is a possibility they may not fully realize that impact.
Are you suggesting like a traffic count on
Just some.
We can look into the cost.
Yeah, we'll check into that.
Okay, as I said, I'm just surprised that SCJ Alliance didn't even think of that as well before, shutting something down that is used to bring goods and services into an area.
Let's go with Councilman Kaminsky.
Well, Cody, what you're saying is we have the ability to be flexible as needed with the businesses to make everything work. So I think that's the main point.
Yes. Correct.
I think before we go into actual set times, we need to get the full input. So one of the ones I'm worried about the most is Whitehorse and a future business and fair game. They don't have as much parking as much like the Habitat for Humanity. They have a full parking lot on the one side of the building. So they're obviously able to mitigate certain things.
He's got street parking.
Exactly. Salon Nouveau, they have, however many hairstylists there. They can park down the road and walk in, and their customers can park up front. So, but I'm worried more about with like bars, you have all of your delivery services that come at set times, set things. So White Horse would be obviously a huge impact. If Fair Game ever reopened as a actual bar, they would have a certain number of the same people, probably the same delivery driver. You got Columbia and a few others that deliver alcohol. So they would have significant impacts. And I just don't, I'm worried about them parking in our turn lanes. And that's already a tight space as far as people turning left, going down towards 507 and everything else. So I would just be concerned shutting it down majority of the time when we should be allowing businesses to have their deliveries and such versus shutting it down part of the time for certain events and whatever it may be. And I think that's a fair compromise moving forward.
Yeah, and we'll have more conversations on how the operations of it goes and even with the designs approved. This is still very preliminary. The main thing that we're doing here is getting those cables laid down, pipes. So that's the biggest thing on this. Planning and operations and all that stuff and actual construction will come at a later time. Councilmember King Iser.
Yes, so to be clear, I feel that we're getting quite off course. What we're actually talking about is the power, right? The power and the water and that. And this part will conclude the 30% part of the planning. Is that correct?
Correct. 30% plans.
What I'm reading?
Yeah, so 30% plans are finished right now. This will add in the engineering of the water sewer that'll be under, then they'll start their own process of catching up to this. 30% is the most flexible plans. That's what we're using to present to business owners to show them what we're doing. This will get water and sewer to catch up. They're going to catch up to these 30% plans and be done at the same time. So that way it'll all be done, ready to go. We can do the water, sewer, power lines, and the alleyway at the same time.
So this is kind of like the bare bones. And then the other portion of this project will be opened up and we'll be discussing more things like the parking, like the other details. And that hasn't been completely defined just yet. Is that correct?
Correct. The 30% plans are what we're, like I said, that's the basis. They can still be modified, you know, and we did meet with the Fair Game owner too. I forgot to mention that. She was very excited about it. But it is things that can still be modified, right? We can, if business owners want a certain way, we can change things. We can move bollards or change how it looks or move planter boxes. We already did that with Habitat wanted a planter box move so they could back up. And we go, yeah, we'll move that. Because that's the nice thing about 30% plans, are very flexible. Whereas you get to 90%, you're kind of locked in.
So then the parts that aren't flexible are kind of exactly what's going on with this amendment. Like the things, we keep creating these projects and it seems to me creating amendments, like what needs to happen and whether they're coming up against different things like the water thing. Okay, it was in our 20-year plan. Let's just do it now. This makes sense. So I understand that part of the amendment. The power. So with that amount of power in those older buildings and kind of like what you're saying, well, everything, I mean, is it, not quite sure how to ask my question entirely here. So I'm speaking kind of out of my realm of knowledge here, but understanding different voltages and things like that, like can what we're doing be substantial for long term? So in another 3 years, we're not voting on another amendment because the lines or the voltage or however power works is changing. And so this is adequate, right? This is going to be part of a longer term plan.
Yeah, and I understand what you're asking. Yeah, so PSC will do they do the design. We just coordinate with them with what we're doing. So they don't lay their power line on top of our water line. So it's all about engineering. Our plans they're going to engineer at the same time we are together so that everything's lined up and you have a water line separate from a sewer line, separate from a power line. They'll do all the calculations for future loads. Like, hey, we know that people are going to use twice as much power because this new light bulb uses twice as much power. This is an example. So they'll have those lines upgraded so they don't have to dig them back up later to make thicker lines or bigger lines to hold more water in your bridge. So yeah. So to answer your question, they are planning all of that with their upgrades and what they know the future will need.
I mean, it's assumed, but.
Councilmember Crossman.
Two things. Number one, since we're kind of getting off topic of what this motion's about, could we push this to a study session where we talk about the active alleyway in a more discussion type format? Since we apparently have a lot of questions about how this is going to operate, the activated alleyway.
We can 30% plans like to you guys
I'm just talking about, yeah, the study session of this, where we just talked about openly the activated alleyway, because it seems like there's a lot of questions and things that aren't related to
Yeah.
this motion on the table.
We can discuss at our next one in July, next study session, July. The 30% plans and kind of future, what the timeline will be on it.
Yeah, a lot of these questions that,
This probably won't happen until later on, I mean, especially if you're talking like the operations of it and stuff like that. I mean, we don't have the designs fully finished yet.
no, some point, because there's a lot of questions here that don't relate to this particular topic here.
Sure.
So I'm like, well, this would be better situated for a different meeting, not right now.
Sure, and we will. I mean, there's still a lot on this project. This is very, very beginning of this project. But absolutely, we will be having a study session, if not multiple ones, on the activated alleyway. When's the plan, the construction date?
Early next year, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of negotiations to do with the business owners about the right of way acquisition and all of that. So.
Yeah, but absolutely, all these questions the other ones that are just directly related to these cables and the utilities will be answered and more. And there will be a lot of more public meetings regarding it. And there'll probably even be an open house on this. If FCJs, I don't know what exactly the FCJ contract is, but if they, if they were wanting to do these studies, if they want to do other stuff, we could absolutely ask them to do that.
Second.
Sure.
So with that, and either activated alleyway or not, I think it's important we get the utilities, because if you've been down the alleyway, you see the power poles and everything going, it needs to be updated. So I would like to move to approve Amendment 5.
Second.
All right, it's been motioned second. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Wood?
Just for clarification, regardless of what we decide to do moving forward, this is going to take place and will have no impact on what we decide as far as moving forward. We still, as you mentioned, we're going to have a lot of opportunity to have conversations about how this is going to look and how we move forward. But regardless of whatever that looks like, this is going to need to take place.
Right, and Cody, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but we would have to do these cables eventually either way. Part of this would include the active alleyway. Yeah. As part of the project, but it's things we have to do eventually.
So we have SCJ Alliance is our guys that are going to be working with the Puget Sound Energy Designer guys. We're taking care of our half, they're taking care of their half, just working together to make sure it all flows together, and in the end, we come out with a solid product.
Correct.
That sounds amazing.
Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Palmer?
One more thing, because it drives me crazy driving down 507 and otherwise. We make sure that the manhole covers are not in the drive path of your tires when we go down these places. I get so sick of hitting manhole covers and bobbing and weaving through traffic. So
Yep, we will discuss that at a further study session.
perfect. So yeah, so while SCJ is
That's a
laying
good
this out,
topic to bring up. Yeah, absolutely.
try and keep it out of the drive path.
Absolutely. Any other further discussion? We got a motion second on the table for amendment number 5, public service agreement with SCJ Alliance on the one-way couplets, parking lot and activate alleyway. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Cody. Moving on, public service agreement with Kier Matthews. Todd, is this one you?
Yep. Okay, so thank you, Mayor, Council. So what you have in front of you is the professional services agreement with Kidder Matthews that covers also the public services. We discussed this last week at the study session. We've had a lot of back and forth with Kidder Matthews and the RFP review committee, public services, to iron out what the first phase of this looks like, which is the consulting phase. As far as the amount of hours that the original estimate provides of their time and how we want them to use that time. We've extended the deadline to wrap up the consulting phase through the end of the year, so there's no rush. We want them to take the time, involve public input, stakeholders, council. And so they're all ready to go. I spoke to them yesterday and they're ready to get started and start working with all of us and the surrounding properties and hopefully come up with a great option for the council to consider.
Councilor Richardson.
Well, as I'm looking here at the consulting fees, the city agrees to pay contractor $275 per hour, which is way less than SCJ Alliance. I just want to put that. Then to a maximum of 25,000.
Yep.
Okay, just want to understand.
Any other discussion? Councilor Kaminsky.
I move to approve the professional services agreement with Kidder Matthews for consulting and marketing of the 640 acre parcel.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, council. All right, moving on to old business. There's none scheduled. Moving on to standing council committee reports, Public Safety Committee.
Yes, we had a really good meeting. One of the things that came up is that in reference to the regional SWAT, the way the system is at this time, they're working on getting it changed from being Thurston County in charge to a regional in charge so that the knowledge base can be easily transferred from one person to another if somebody all of a sudden goes missing in reference to things. It's to share the wealth of knowledge, also to share the cost of the equipment. With the financial side, they're still working on a lot of this. And if I remember correct, it's 30% is what we would end up as a city paying. Yeah, 30% of the costs. And mostly it's the equipment that our officers already have. So it's that kind of thing. We also discussed Scout, which is the mental health professionals of the county, working to make available to all entities and cities. Right now, Lacey and Olympia have their own, and the county's wanting to push it out to the smaller communities. And it's very helpful. These are the individuals that if there is a mental health issue going on that an officer would be actually having to call somebody in on, they will be the ones who make that determination and going in. If they need security, law enforcement will be available, but it's to kind of help bring the officers out of the mental health field and actually being law enforcement. The SRO, yes, we have one SRO that was dropped from YCS during the round 2. They are looking at picking it back up later. Our police department is looking at doing a backfill of, including the officers that are available to be able to help out. And how this will affect is that if they do not pick up, then, and it's just one SRO that's dropped, the city $75,000 that they contract for next school year, we would have to make sure that money gets found for paying that officer.
That will come out of our general budget.
Right. But it's just one of those things that we have to be aware of. Police vehicle pursuits, they are officially started June 6th. And what the policy means, that policy changes that they're able to start doing high-speed pursuits again, but it's based upon what was the original stop going to be for. In other words, if the original stop was going to be for the fact that out of date registration and the person decides to start accelerating and go away, no high speed pursuit. It's not necessary. Also, the officers, our officers are being trained and put back into a play on how to go about doing this, that they have to make that decision. They have to understand the rules. Court filings, they were down a little bit for the month of April. The passport office is doing well. And I asked about what the backlog was for it, and they said they're back up to speed of getting things done in a reasonable time. And the executive seminar for the senior elected officials, they discussed the fire season. They were briefed by PSC of how brown and blackouts would be involved with fire danger, and also they had the discussions of, in case of fires, what's the emergency plans and things like that. Other than that, did I miss anything? No? Okay, we're good.
All right, moving on to the Public Services Committee.
Moving.
All right, moving on to the Finance Committee.
We just had a meeting and there was one item on the agenda and we informally agreed to change the gambling taxes from 3% on gross sales to 3% net. And so Stephanie, our finance director, will do a ordinance for that and come to the meeting on June 25th for a vote.
And that was just informally suggesting it.
Informally suggest.
Recommending it to council.
We'll make a motion, we'll have a
Massage it, yeah,
yeah.
just very.
But thank you for that recommendation, though. I agree with it. All right, moving on to Mayor, City Administrator, staff reports.
Thank you, Mayor. I just got word from the departments and the IT department. Our electronic reader board is in the middle of being installed over there by the Boys and Girls Club there. It'll be completed after Parade Days is over. The next phase involves Public Works doing some work with them, and they're wrapped up a little bit right now with Parade Days and our 100-year celebration. So as soon as that's all done, they'll get back and help IT with reader board. Our director, Jason Hardy, will graduate from leadership Thurston County tomorrow at St. Martin's. None of you can go because it's sold out, actually. We couldn't go, but yeah, anyway, we just found that out today. In the public services world, we got ribbon cutting on the Prairie Line Trail tomorrow at 11. Prairie Days prep, like I already mentioned, is in full swing. In the HR world, union negotiations are ongoing. We'll give an update on that, I think, in July. We're going to come back and give an update on where we are on all that. So we'll keep everybody up to date on that. Community Conversations is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. I don't want to steal your thunder, Mayor, but it's on my list. I'm sorry. It's on my list. So that'll happen between 6 and 7 tomorrow night at the community center. So I think it was published as well, right? So if there are council members that would like to attend, absolutely. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Todd. Meeting with Multicare tomorrow regarding just some updates on possible partnerships and what their plans are. Informally, it sounds like that they are looking to put an Indigo urgent care, so in Yelm. So that's very exciting. That'll probably happen less than a year, but we'll get some more concrete verbiage from them tomorrow. So looking forward to hearing from them and what they plan to do here in Yelm. Parade Days coming up next weekend. Pretty excited for that. Todd was saying about our 100 years. It's going to be a big celebration. We got a drone show coming up at the very end of the night, but on Saturday. But before that, we got Adam Craig coming out headlining our concert. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a pre-concert. Come out, enjoy the music, the food, the games, and
The blessing of the stage.
in the blessing of the stage by Nisqually Indian tribe. Excited for that. And there's some partnerships that we're talking about with City of Tenino regarding court systems. We're just kind of exploring possibilities. If we can save money, if they can save money, if we can work together on different things, we look forward to doing that. So kind of Sonia, our court administrators, looking through the numbers and seeing the different impacts to us. And we're trying to figure out if it would work out. If it works for us, it works for them. We'll talk to council about it. We'll bring it forth and we'll go from there. Other than that, that's all I've got. Let's go, Councilmember Kaminsky.
No meetings. I just attended the chamber lunch today. It's delightful, and going to do the trail tomorrow. So I'll be there.
Thank you. Yeah. What time is it, Cody? 11. We're at.
We can find the parking.
Yeah, so you have two options if you like to walk. First option is Bridge Road. If you go up Canal Road and take Bridge Road, there's a little gravel parking lot at the end you can park at, and it's right there. We're going to cut right at the canal. If you don't mind walking, you can park at the trailhead on Roten Road. It's about a mile walk to where we're going to cut the ribbon.
That's where you'll shuttle us in the.
Yeah,
I will shuttle some people that don't feel like they can walk. Yes. So if you feel like you can walk or you're wearing extremely high heels, we can probably shuttle you.
Anything else, Councilmember? All right. Councilmember Palmer.
So one thing which I know we can look this up online, but I've been questions about the construction next to Olympia Federal and Cody, I imagine you know what's going on over there.
Yeah, they're building, yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
I'll use the real answer. I'll tell you the real answer. They're building us. So it's a coffee shop at Starbucks. And it's got a couple of retail spots next to it, very similar to the Dairy Queen area where you have Dairy Queen and you have the jewelry store and the Twin Sisters boutique. So I have a couple small shops next to it. So I know there's been posting about an urgent care coming in there. That is not the case. It is a Starbucks and 3 small retail shops. We don't know what those retail shops are. They just said 3 small.
Available business space.
Yeah, available business space for local businesses or hair salons or whatever.
Love that. Okay, and then I did have a SWAC meeting. And just so you know, the last rate change for your garbage was in 2012. And they're doing a study right now to raise the cost, obviously, because it's not going to go down.
Really?
Yeah.
Seems like it's gone up since then.
Yeah, no, 2012 was the last rate change. And so January 2026, your garbage rates will be changing. That is in the study session at the moment. Let's see here, what else? They're also looking for a resident position on the SWAC council. And that is open to districts 1, 2, 4, and 5, not 3, because there's already a District 3 person there. And of course, they want me to remind everybody that styrofoam is now banned for food service products as well as packing peanuts. So no more packing peanuts or styrofoam for restaurants other than what you have in stock already. So that's the big updates from SWAC.
Thank you. Councilmember Hess.
Intercity Transit Authority meeting was good. The big discussion happened to be the future transit area that they're looking at doing on Martin Way, right before the connection to I-5. Communities has concerns there. Otherwise, it's still working on getting past pre-COVID and start improving on what was voted on a couple of years ago and represent that tax increase. So otherwise, everything's going well. Looks good for us.
Thank you. Councilmember Kingheiser.
Yes, thank you. I actually have had a bit of a, I suppose, busy week. We did the public safety meeting, of course. I was a part of that. I went this week and heard at our Rotary meeting about the Thurston County Commissioner job and their function. So that was kind of a cool sit-in with a very good speaker. I went to the Nisqually Trust, Nisqually, the land trust auction. That was really cool to learn so much more about what they do and being a nonprofit as well. Our chamber nonprofit connections was this month. That was kind of neat as we are facing that double failed levy and just kind of learning more and more about the needs that the kids are going through, the teachers are going through, and just watching our community yet again come together to really brainstorm ideas on how we're going to help this next school year. So that was really neat to be able to be a part of that and see many people come together with that. And then went to the chamber luncheon today as well.
Cool. Councilmember Crossman.
2 questions first, based on former. Let's start with Councilman Palmer. The packing peanuts, is that for businesses like shipping stuff out or shipping in or both?
That is for everybody. So no packing peanuts statewide. So the packing peanuts are banned.
Statewide.
Statewide, yeah, the styrofoam ones. And in addition to that, there was also, the big styrofoam blocks that you get on when you get a new couch or something, let's say, or a TV. Those are also banned. So they are having to go to cardboard for those kind of things. Yeah. So yeah, styrofoam is basically effectively banned in Washington State.
Are they informing?
You have to go with the plant composite plastic that costs like 4 times as much as styrofoam. So it's an impact on local businesses, especially restaurants. You also have to, they will fine you as well.
Does
So
that degrade really fast or something?
because it's plant-based, allegedly, yeah. We'll see the data on that because it's kind of like another conversation we had on this that was not about styrofoam, but we were talking about the EV cars. So solid waste is switching over to EV garbage trucks. And myself and Commissioner Edwards brought up, well, what do you do with those batteries? State of Washington has no plans for the retirement of battery-powered vehicles, but they're pushing us to go to battery power. So all those toxic chemicals and stuff in batteries, we have no plan to get rid of those. So these are all state mandated things that have no solution, obviously.
Let's go back to Councilmember Crossman's.
Yeah, well, I asked this further on the packing, because I know there's several businesses in town that do ship. And so I was curious how that's gonna work out for them. And then Councilmember Hess, you had mentioned previous council meeting, we were talking about buses up to Matera, and you mentioned that you were going to ask them. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was about bus stops or turning or something like that. Why did you pose that question? Because you said you were going to talk to them when you were there. I can't remember the exact questions you were talking
I
to.
was going to ask about, and I'm waiting. I don't know if the city reached out to intercity transit, but I let the executive director know that we were, because of Prairie Days and the barbecue festival.
You did mention it at at least one meeting that I saw in Bristol Transit.
It was the last meeting, study session. And it was that we would have, if they could, the city, if the city hasn't reached out, then they're just needing to know the plans of what's going on. And they might be able to provide an additional bus during that time frame instead of having to be able to help out with when people would be needing parking.
Staff is also communicating with them directly. It's a partnership.
I was seeing, wondering if there was, how that was going on that conversation. And then I met before the meeting tonight, I talked with our reps, Farkas and Wilcox and a couple other politicians, and the main topic is traffic and moving people around. So that was kind of interesting to get some different perspective on that. Some different projects are happening between here and Pierce County, and yeah, so that seems to be like the leading cost thing. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Councilmember Richardson.
Oh, I got to attend the chamber forum today. It was real nice. I do appreciate the city staff. We were having some technical difficulties, and Jason came and made sure things work out. And I do appreciate Lynn just trying to help and making it, as best as she can. So even though sometimes things work out, it's nice to know that when something's not functioning, people come together and attempt to make things work. And it means so much to me. And I think also to the chamber when we see that people work together to make things happen. So really shout out to Jason. I know he's probably watching right now. Thank you for making that tech work. And just a wonderful presentation from the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. I feel like she just represented Yelm really well, and not so much, but the culture of it as well. But yeah, it's exciting to see Yelm working together, trying to get things accomplished, and yeah, so good times.
Councilmember Wood.
The TCOM meeting this month was canceled due to lack of agenda. Everything that Councilmember Hess mentioned about our public safety meeting, I agree with. It actually happened just exactly like he said. And I have a transportation policy board meeting at 7:30 a.m. and that's my report.
Thank you. All right, there's no executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn? Councilmember Crossman.
Moving to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Palmer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.